In this video, we're going to cover 6 specific types of contracts that I believe every procurement professional should absolutely know. They should be able to do a first review, negotiate them, redline them to some extent, and work with whoever is responsible for contracts in your organization, whether it be a contract manager or a in-house legal team. Let's get into it. So the first agreement that everyone should know about is a non-disclosure agreement. So this is commonly referred to as an NDA, and it's put in place usually, well, it should only be put in place to protect the confidentiality of two parties coming together. It can be multiple parties and things like that, but for this example, let's keep it really simple, and probably about 95 to 99.9% of NDAs that you will come across will be a two-way NDA. And with this non-disclosure agreement, it will set out that one party is going to share certain information and the other party is going to share certain information. And this information should not be shared with anyone outside of this agreement. That is, in essence, what a NDA is, and that's a mutual NDA. We also have unilateral non-disclosure agreements where it's just one party saying, hey, we just want to protect this information in our conversations with you. They're normally time bound, so I'm always quite a big fan of going as short as possible, in that, information goes out of date rather quickly now. So 1 to 3 years. I really hate seeing NDAs that are 5-10 years long. It's just ridiculous. And I also hate it when people try and put things like data protection and things like that in there. It's not relevant. It's the wrong agreement, the wrong stage of the conversation. So NDA is number 1. Agreement number 2 is known as a Master Services Agreement and referred to as a MSA. This is a set of terms that covers the relationship with you and one of your suppliers. And this is quite common, by the title of this contract in services. And what that MSA will do, it will set out how the legal relationship will operate, but it won't typically go into how the specific tasks and work will be undertaken, and we'll come into that in a moment. So it's effectively a all-encompassing document, covers things like liabilities, insurance provisions, health and safety, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's one of the most important agreements that you can have knowledge around. And agreement number 3 is a statement of work, sometimes referred to as a schedule of work, an SOW, a SOW, and this is why the MSA works in a particular way. So the MSA sets out how we work together, but it doesn't set out the specifics of the task, and that's where the statement of work comes in. In this statement of work, you will set out typically the cost, the breakdown, milestone payments, the requirement, the specifications, the scope of work, the project timelines, a whole bunch of really useful data points, and then you'll work towards them. And you have to effectively manage both agreements, but the statement of work almost becomes that day-to-day management piece for you. PO terms, so purchase order is sent out, it will say, have all the lines of the services or goods that you're procuring from your supplier. But on the other side, or on another page, if it's digitally, right, there'll be a number of terms. And this is normally used in low value, low risk procurements, in that you will just send out some basic terms to one of your suppliers. Your supplier will have no issue typically accepting those in an ideal world, and you'll be protected enough to not have to worry about all of that commercial negotiation piece. Agreement number 4 is a SaaS license, or a SaaS agreement, so software as a service. And really, this needs a whole video dedicated to it, but it's one that you should know. And this is where one of your suppliers, a typical software company who provides their software via cloud, via web browser, will send you terms. And pretty much all SaaS agreements follow a similar structure. Between 2020 and 2022, I think I reviewed hundreds of SaaS agreements, and they were never overly complex, they're never overly different, but they're an agreement that you should absolutely know as we move into more of a digital age. And in line with that, data protection agreements are agreement number 6 that you should know. GDPR is a European regulation and is very far-reaching, and effectively governs how data from a data subject is processed by various entities. So you want to make sure that your suppliers and their suppliers are accessing data that you've specifically consented to, and maybe even data subjects that you serve are consenting to. And what happens if it goes bad? What happens if it goes wrong? And there's a bunch of standard contract conditions that enable a lot of uniformity in this space. So those are the 6 agreements that I recommend you know and study and start reviewing and using. If you found this video useful, I really appreciate you subscribing, and in the comments let me know what struggles you have with any of these contracts. And before you go, just check out this video here. It's all about contract management. I think you'll find it useful. See you soon. Goodbye.